Welcome back to the Marching Arts Utah podcast. I'm here today with the Marching Band Committee Chair and Competition Coordinator at UMEA, Mr. John Miller.
Man, I'm glad to be here with you today. I'm excited to be here. John Miller, happily retired, taught at American Fork High School for 30 years, 10 years up in Idaho, and running a couple of community bands, jazz band and concert band, but marching band and band in general still got my heart. So you and I have a long history together, and I appreciate taking the time to interview me.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. Thank you so much for joining me. This is going to be an amazing conversation. I think a lot of people are excited to hear from you. You've been the band director for so many current band directors in Utah. I think it's such a cool thing that you've got kind of a coaching tree, is what they call in like the NFL or something. How does it feel to see former students of yours take control of their own bands?
You know, it's so exciting to see fellow students, former students, following my footsteps. Something happened to either I touched them or a junior high teacher touched them. Somebody touched them that they wanted to do this for a career. Similar to what was happening to me when I was growing up. And as I look around the state, last I counted around the nation here, we got about 20 directors who came out of American Fork High School. So that's really cool. And it's nice that some of them still have me come and do clinics with their band and help and stuff, but they know and do much more than I knew when I was first starting. Oh, yeah. And I'm so impressed with how they're doing. It just does my heart good to see that they want to make music a career and touch kids' lives through the power of music.
It must be interesting to look back when you were starting and see the resources that you had, the limited resources. And a lot of it, you kind of had to make it up as you go. Whereas nowadays, so much of that is sort of established already. Do you ever look back and feel like, man, they have it so good compared to what I had?
You know, I'm blessed right now. I teach 2 classes at BYU in music education, pre-student teaching and student teaching. And I always look back on my days of student teaching. I was taking lessons from a trumpet player named Vern Buffalo. Changed my life. It really turned me into a trumpet player. And when I finished, I taught elementary bands all the way through college. And when it came time for student teaching, they just signed me to Vern Buffalo. And the very first day I walked in, he hands me the keys and says, "John, I'll be upstairs in the faculty room. If you need any help, let me know." And the whole semester I was on my own for concerts and everything. I look at today's kids at BYU and stuff, and you know, the help they get and the help and the observation and the feedback weekly. I would have killed to have that. But it was still a great experience, and I guess I turned out okay. But it was just amazing to see what music education offers kids now that wasn't even close to when I was growing up.
Yeah. Well, let's go to that point. Let's talk about your upbringing in music, and just where did it all start for you?
You know, I remember being a kid in probably 5th, 6th grade and in Pocatello, Idaho, and they came around, they did some little tests to see if you wanted to play in band. And I was told I could play clarinet or violin, but not trumpet. Well, my folks had an Al Hirt album that I had listened to Al Hirt, and I just knew right then that's what I wanted to play trumpet. And I remember going to the teacher who gave us all these tests, said, "This is great, but I really want to play trumpet." "Oh no, you can't play trumpet. Your lips are all wrong and everything." In hindsight, I know they just needed clarinets and violins, but I still played trumpet. And I remember being one time at like first chair in an all-state band or something, and that teacher was there, and I come up and said, "Hey, remember me? I'm the guy that you said couldn't play trumpet." And it was just a wonderful thing. But I just fell in love with it in the 6th grade, and I was taking trumpet lessons from this Vern Buffalo guy, and then went on to junior high and high school, and just thoroughly. There was never a question in my mind. I was either going to be a band director or a forest ranger. And the band director won out. I just loved what music was and what it could do for kids, and all. Even through high school and college, I said I was teaching these 6th-grade bands. I just loved that you could take a kid that doesn't know anything and put an instrument in their hand, and all of a sudden they can make music, and to see that glow in their eyes, like, wow, I'm doing this. That's something special. A lot of times people in careers don't get to have. So I knew then that I wanted to do that. Went to Idaho State University, graduated there. Couldn't find a job. I was waiting for my wife to finish nursing at ISU. A church official called me up one day and said, "Didn't you tell me that you had a degree in music?" I said, "Yeah, I do," because I was working at the bowling alley and parts warehouses and stuff. He said, "Well, I'm the vice principal of junior high, and my second choir teacher just quit. The kids ran him out. It was just, and this was like in November. Would you be interested in doing that? I didn't even know what SATB meant. I really didn't. I had no clue. So I said, sure, I'll do it. And at that time, I kind of still had some long hair from my rock and roll days. And I remember going into that little choir class and just having a ball. I was really into foosball. Because in my rock and roll days, we hustled foosball in nightclubs. And there was a football table in the choir room. And I remember sitting there and telling the kids, I know you've already ran out 2 teachers, but I'm a pretty cool guy. And if you'll sing and do the things I want you to do, on Friday, half the class, we'll play foosball. And if anybody can ever beat me, ever, you're going to get all A's. Well, they were just like excited. We can do this. We can do this. So I used that as an incentive. And we just had a great time as a choir and made some great music. I remember going to my college choir guy, who I never even had as a teacher. I said, I got this choir gig. Can you teach me everything I need to know about choir? He took about an hour and gave me a bunch of resources and stuff. And I thought,
that's all you need after an hour.
I felt like I was getting a Vulcan mind meld or something, but I went and I had it, and I look back on those times and I think that one little half a year taught me a lot about expression and music that choral people get at a higher level sometimes than us band folks. And I've always looked back and was grateful I had that experience, because I think it helped all my band experiences from then on, making music and the innuendo of music and stuff like that. But that's kind of how I got into the band world.
Sometimes you'll have your marching bands sing their parts. And I don't know if that's influenced from your time as a choir director, but can you talk about maybe why having them sing their parts is important?
Yeah, I think singing is incredibly important for instrumental, whether it be orchestral or band. It takes the cumbersomeness of the instrument out of their hands, and they're having to think of phrasing and lines and releases and pitch, and sometimes you just push down a finger and the note pops out. Well, with some lip work, I guess, but it just takes the cumbersomeness of the instrument out of the way, and you can do some more things with singing. And I think anytime I've ever had it, particularly in ballads, if you sing it and then play it, it's a difference. It's different because they can kind of relate to it, because all music is kind of vocal. Even if it's instrumental music, it kind of goes back to the root of, the vocal stuff. And I think as instrumental teachers, we sometimes don't take advantage of that, and we need to do more of that singing.
You talked about Vern Buffalo as an influence in your young life. Can you talk about any other music teachers that were really influential on you early on?
Joe Missel was a college director, graduated from Eastman. His son, who I actually helped teach in some of the summer classes in Pocatello, became the band director at Oklahoma State University, just retired, came living here in Utah now. His son, in other words, Joe Missel is my college director's grandson, is now the band director at the University of Utah, Jason Missel.
Oh, okay.
And it's just been so neat to see that. And David Missel was amazing with me, my college teacher, how he taught. He was ruthless. He was kind of the old-fashioned kind of teaching. He could rip you to shreds with a few words. And
those are the best teachers.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. You couldn't get away with it nowadays. You'd be in jail or something. But he really, taught me everything. He did jazz band and concert band there, and I got into the whole Maynard Ferguson thing and everything just through him. And I just learned a lot about how to really detail music and how you can fix things instead of just playing the tune. So he was amazing for me. Frank Webster was a high school teacher, and he was really good. He was really a strength. His son, Patrick Webster, lives in the Salt Lake area, taught for a little while at Brighton High School. But he was very instrumental, and he used me as a section leader to help other kids, involve me in stuff. I mean, it was really, that whole experience in the Pocatello area was wonderful. They had a strong summer program. And I always, as a senior, I was teaching the summer program, and got all those teaching experiences thanks to, David Missel and Frank and everything. It was some strong people.
So you were given these leadership opportunities pretty early. How important do you, American Fork runs a leadership camp in the summers. And I think there's a lot of people even watching this that have benefited from that. How important do you think it is for young people to kind of go through and experience leadership early on?
I think it's, I don't know if I dare say 75% of what we do as a teacher, because a lot of music people say, oh no, it's all about the music. And it is about the music, but it's more about developing leaders and human beings when you're a teacher of, instrumental music. I remember when I interviewed for the American Fort job, a couple of years later, I talked to Don Pearson, and he said, well, your answer to this question, which got you this job. What question was that? I mean, I remember one of the kids asked me, we really want to get good. Mr. Willer, will you lead us? Will you lead us to make us be good? And my response to them was, well, that's really not my job. I'll provide you with the tools. You should be so motivated and working so hard that you're pushing me. I shouldn't have to push you. And I think that has just been a core of my belief, is if you can get the kids to do it, it's their band, it's not your band as a director. If you can get the kids to buy into wanting to get good, wanting to get better. When I do with clinics with bands, I'll always talk to the leadership afterwards, or try to, and say, if you guys are the ones pushing the band, talking to them. I used to love it when I'd walk out of the band room in American Fork High School, and there's a flute section leader with two little flute girls there that can't play a note. And they're working with them. They're trying to get them to march in time. They're trying to get them to play a couple notes correctly. And they're with them for hours. After rehearsal's gone, that's what leadership's about. Just doing that kind of stuff. And I think I'm so impressed with Utah now. Most programs either have or are developing a real strong leadership student program. I think what they're doing in American Fork High School and Mountain West Leadership Academy is a great tool, and directors are shortchanging their students if they don't get them to that. I know years ago we started a similar thing at American Fork High School, and then we had some neighbors, band directors, who were thinking it was just an American Fork training thing, so they stopped coming. But now it's, we're bringing in outside national kind of people for this, and it's just a great thing. But the drum majors, the section leaders, they're the people who really, really make the programs. And you can have a mediocre director with strong leadership, and you're going to have a good band. You can have a great director with weak leadership, it's not going to be as strong a band. So I think directors are missing the boat if they don't have student leaderships and boosters. And a lot of directors are scared of parent boosters. Well, I don't have a parent booster group because they're going to tell me how to run my program. And I've always said, Allison Dean and I, we'd go around the state to different bands and do clinics with directors. And I always used to tell them, if you ever get a booster president or a group that's trying to tell you how to run your program, abolish your booster program immediately, just abolish it. And then start it up a couple of guys later with some fresh meat. But the boosters and the student leaders, if they can work together, there's nothing they can't accomplish. I mean, that's, to me, is the key to what American Fork has done for a long time. Yeah. I always looked at myself as just kind of a mediocre band director, but we had great student leaders, student boosters, and everything that helped put all the pieces together. And I remember going to a clinic at Bands America one time at Summer Symposium about the band director is the CEO. That's what you really should be doing. You should be touching on all angles. And yeah, you better be a good musician, because you got to, wave your stick and make some good music happen out of them. But the secret piece of the puzzle, the most powerful piece of the puzzle, is the students themselves. And if you'll give them the power and the authority to lead and get out of their way, they will do amazing things. I said our community bands rehearsed at American Fork High School. And when I walk in that room still, I can tell when they're auditioning for student leadership, because there's projects all around the room, and there's things being built and signs and posters, and they want to do things to help motivate their peers and their kids. And so just keep that student leadership thing going. And if directors don't support that leadership thing, get them to Bands America, or get them to someplace that will give them that extra boost to help you as a director run the program. I mean, I came from Little Blackfoot.
Yeah.
And the reason I think I got invited to the application is because Little Blackfoot beat American Fork the year before. So Don invited me to come and apply, and somehow I got the gig. But I knew that I was coming into a whole new arena, and I needed to know more than I knew about marching band. I'd gone to the summer camps at Utah State. They had some great summer marching band camps. I'd gone to those every year for 3 or 4 years. But I came here and I said, okay, I really need to find out what in the world I'm getting into. So that first year, the booster sent me back to the Bands of America Summer Symposium. And I went back, and my 3 drum majors went back, a few other kids. And I met George Parks, Dr. Tim Lotzenheiser, all the people of the world. And I got to have lunch and watch clinics with the bands who are winning Grand Nationals or have been there forever. I mean, there's the who's who of the marching band world were teaching, and they were instructed not to eat by themselves. They have to eat with the directors who go to the camps.
Okay.
So I developed some relationships with them. But George he was amazing. I mean, he was running all the leadership camps, the drum major camps, and throwing maces in the air and everything. And I mean, it's all the leadership. And I'd go to some of his camps. I'd go to some of the jazz camps. I'd go to the marching band camps, and just came back with such a love and passion for the level that we should be at, not where we were, but where we could be, where other people in America was, that we didn't have a clue what was going on. At that time, Mountain Crest was the happening thing. Sherry Manning was the director there, and she was involved in Bands of America stuff. Okay. She had won the summer regionals they'd had, and they don't have that anymore. But she was my mentor, and she was always telling me to go to Bands of America and stuff. Well, one of my drum majors who went with us the first year came up to me one year, last year was drum major, I think, says, "Are you okay if I can invite George Parks to come out and work with our band?" And that was probably the first time I'd ever even thought of bringing a high-level person to come and work with our kids. And next thing I know, he's done all the work. The drum major did it and got him, and we paid for him and everything. But he stayed in my house, jumped on my trampoline. We had a great time. And he taught all my drum majors. He worked with the band for like 3 days.
Wow. And
it just convinced me that there are people out there who really know what they're doing that can teach me how to do things better. I just need to get them in front of my kids. Yeah. And so then thereafter, we'd bring some named person in almost every year for band camp. Mm-hmm. But George Parks changed the world. When he passed at the University of Massachusetts, when he was teaching there, I mean, it was a sad loss for the music education. But his books are still out there, and his philosophy and his teachings, and Eyes with Pride, and give me your eyes, and everything he always says. He was amazing. But as was everybody at Bands of America. I'm still a Bands of America fan. Yeah. It was just an amazing thing.
Yeah. All right. You briefly mentioned, you stuck in there a little reference to rock and roll and having long hair. I'd love for you to talk about your days as a rock and roll musician. And I assume you traveled a lot and ate a lot of fast food. Let's hear about your life as a rock and roller.
I was a senior at Idaho State University.
And what year was this?
Oh, man. 74, 75, something like that, 74, 75. Senior at Idaho State University in all the programs. I mean, I was the trumpet player in the orchestra and the band and the jazz band and everything. Mm-hmm. And when I was playing in little nightclub bands, little pickup bands, Chicago kind of things. Mm-hmm. And some band came through town, a touring group, playing at a really nice nightclub that they were looking for a trumpet player. Mm-hmm. And my name came to their surface somehow. Because at the time I was the happening dude in Pocatello. I'm not sure anything to be proud of, but I was. And they invited me to come to a rehearsal. And I went to a rehearsal, and I was completely blown away. I said, oh my gosh, the organ player was like phenomenal. The drummer was out of this world, and the bass and the guitar, everything was amazing.
Yeah.
And so they invited me to join, and they're leaving town in 2 days for the next gig. Can I go with them? I went back to my college professor, David Missel. I said, you're going to kill me. I know it's the middle of the year, but I'm leaving to go on the road. My whole career, I've always wanted to be a professional musician first, and then if that don't work, I'll be a teacher.
Yeah.
That was wrong thinking at the time, but I was young. He about killed me. But he said, well, okay, whatever you need to do, I guess. And then I went on the road for 4 years with these guys. It was the best of worlds, and it was the worst of worlds. I mean, it was the best musical experience I think I could have ever asked for, because I learned the word woodshedding, perfecting something. It was a Chicago kind of group. It was all the rhythm section and a tenor sax and me. And we would try to play a gig, sometimes 4 to 5 hours long. Mm-hmm. I mean, my chops had to get really strong. I remember peeling calluses off my lips once in a while. And we'd try to play a perfect night. You know, it was just unbelievable. And we'd practice during the day forever and try to get to learn new tunes and things. And we started as just a kind of a nightclub band with hopes of, you know, making some recordings. And we did a few of those and things. But it basically was a nightclub band. And we played all the way from the West Coast all the way back to Omaha. I think it's about as far east as we went. But it was amazing. But it was also a difficult time because you'd wake up in a different town every week. We played some backup gigs in Albuquerque and in whatever the place was before the Salt Palace. We played there.
Yeah.
Jethro Tull and different kind of things. But eventually it got to the point where, oh my gosh, this is getting too much. And the lifestyle was horrible. You know, I was a member of the church beforehand, and then afterwards I just completely went down the dark side of the world. Grew my hair down to my waist, full beard. I mean, it was crazy. I was just fitting into the flow of the rock and roll musician of that era.
Yeah.
And I remember one time coming to Pocatello to play, because we'd go there once in a while to practice, because two of the people were from there. And we went, there was a nightclub called the Down Under. We went to Down Under and played there. Afterwards, some ladies, and I guess you call them that, invited us to a party afterwards. And I remember going to a party with me and a saxophone player and walking in his apartment and looking to my left, and sitting on a bed wasn't like an angel with blonde hair, with a light over her head. It was just like, oh my gosh. I kind of left this scraggly thing I was with and spent the rest of the part of the evening talking to this girl here. Well, it turned out to be my future wife, Pam. She'd go to the bars and stuff, and that was the time when the band was thinking of breaking up, and pretty soon we decided to do it, and somehow she liked me and I liked her, and it all worked out. And when the band dropped off, and then we, you know, ended up getting married and everything. But the rock and roll experience was wonderful and bad too. The influence, all the evils of the world were there, and but musically, I took a lot of that music into my career. Because, you know, you go into a nightclub or something, and you play a tune from somebody else, and if it's not pretty darn close, you're gonna get in their job.
Yeah.
And you start clamming notes, playing trumpet, you know, Chicago tunes or Tower Power.
Yeah.
You know, it's not gonna cut it. So what I gained from that experience is to stay away from the evil of the world, but then also to perfect the music that's in front of you. You know, so you can really get it down good. So I think sometimes I look back on that time as a horrible time, but I also look back on it as a wonderful experience that had to happen in my life at that time to make me a better band director and a better person. You know, because I probably wasn't a good person beforehand, but after that, and then I met Pam, I was a better person. I hope I am now, but you never know. But that was a good experience.
Wow. What was the name of the group?
Name of the band was Pacific Cross.
Pacific or specific?
Pacific, like the Pacific Ocean. Pacific Cross.
Okay.
And we played all over the place, but it was crazy.
We're going to backtrack just a little bit. I want to have you talk about, you talked about the choir gig. Where was that at?
I taught choir at Pocatello at Hawthorne Junior High School for just the remainder of that first year.
Yeah.
Then my wife graduated from nursing school, so then I started looking around southeastern, eastern, whatever they call it, Idaho. And I had a couple offers. And so I took one up in Shelley. It was Shelley, Idaho. And I said, okay, I'll teach up in Shelley. But then in the meantime, I had a friend that was teaching in Blackfoot High School who had gone to college with me, moved to the high school, and the junior high was open. And he asked me if I'd take that. Well, I already contracted with Shelley, but I knew that I wanted to teach in Blackfoot, because at that time, Blackfoot was a happening program. And so I remember telling the principal of Shelley, I got to do this. He was a little upset with me, but he totally understood. And I took that job at Blackfoot Junior High. I'll never forget my very first day teaching there. Drove up to school, all the teachers were in picket line, because they were protesting, you know, lack of pay or something for the union. And I remember sitting there. So I picked up a sign and I did the whole thing. And well, then, it was over real quick and we started teaching and stuff. But Blackfoot was great. I really learned a lot of a lot of stuff teaching junior high. I always tell people you should always teach junior high. That's where you learn the craft of how to teach a kid to play and do everything. And it was wonderful. And then Highland High School opened up.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I think I'd like to do Highland High School. So I applied and got the Highland High School job and played it, or did it for 2 years. I was still living in Blackfoot and driving back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of a pain. And then my friend playing in Blackfoot convinced the administration to develop a team teaching thing, high school and junior high.
Mm-hmm.
So I left Highland High School, went back to Blackfoot, and we worked high school and junior high together and developed, I think, just a super program. And it was just total integration. It was unbelievable. We became so powerful that it kind of offended some of the sports people. And the administration and stuff started putting roadblocks in our way. And that's after 4 or 5 years there at Blackfoot.
Imagine that being the other way around.
Oh, I know, it would never happen.
It never happened.
Never happened. But they started putting roadblocks, and I said, okay, it's time to look for something else. And that's the year that American Fork had beaten American Fork at the Davis Cup.
That Blackfoot beat American Fork.
Blackfoot.
Talk about that for a second. What was that like?
Oh, that was amazing.
Did you know about American Fork at the time?
Uh-huh. Well, American Fork was like 3rd or 4th in the state at that time.
Mm-hmm.
It was Woods Cross, who don't even march anymore, was right up there. It wasn't even Mountain Crest, it was Skyview band. And Davis, they were the top bands. And then American Fork was somewhere in the middle. But I knew they were a good band.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't that big.
Don Peterson was there at the time. Okay.
Blackfoot band was actually bigger at that time. And we outscored them, and that was an amazing feeling. I mean, we came back from Little Idaho and said, hey, we always tried to do one show in Utah just to see how we were doing. And we had a great show. And then when they gave me the job at American Fork, then that's when I came down here. And that's the impetus of my kind of a career, how it started.
Yeah. And then you were at American Fork the rest of your teaching career.
30 years at American Fork High School.
Wow.
Had a ball, loved every second of it. You know, the things we did was incredible. I would just tell people, I don't take trips just for the sake of a trip. It's got to have something meaningful. And that's why we did 2 Rose Parades, 2 Macy's Parades. The National Concert Band Festival was an incredible thing. The inauguration parade was for George Bush's second inauguration was incredible because we didn't even find out about it till December. Oh, and then we had to figure out how to get that kind of money raised before February when they have the inauguration. That was an amazing thing.
Wow.
But everything we did in American Fork was I just thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. It's a lot of work, a lot of growth, a lot of staff come and goes. Some were what I call, high maintenance staff members that we had to deal with and had to figure out how to make that work. But there's some of the staff, Michelle Flugiger was there almost from day one. She was one of my students, but then we hired her. She stayed there forever. She's still there.
Still there.
But there was just some great staff and people and to work with that helped create that whole program.
We could do a 4-hour podcast just about your American Fork career, but there's a couple things I'd love to focus on. I was just speaking with McKay Osborne at Maple Mountain last week about his excitement about the growth of his program and the direction and the big things that they want to do in the next 4 to 5 years, and that includes going to Grand Nationals. Can you talked about going back to the symposium for the first time and kind of seeing what the world was like outside of Utah. What was it like going to Grand Nationals for the first time in 1995, was it? Right?
Well, with the band.
With American Fork.
Yes.
Can you talk about what led to that decision to go for the first time and then just what it was like that first time?
I remember going to one of the summer symposiums. Charlie Mangini was one of the teachers there. He's amazing. He told us, he says, on your plane ride home, come up with a list of everything you need for your program, everything. Money's no option. What do you want to have your absolutely perfect program? Come up with that list, share it with your wife, share it with your booster people, go to your principal, and share that with them. And so I wrote down this whole 2-page thing and did exactly what I was told. I was kind of an obedient guy. I went and talked to them all and said, this is what we need to be doing. And one of them was to perform at Grand Nationals. One was the National Concert Band Festival. One was like staff and, all this, how many percentage I want kids taking private lessons, everything. And And then we started checking off that list, slow but sure. And the year before we went to Grand Nationals, which was in '94, I guess, I was in California with Luke Savage, Luke and Susan Savage. They were our drivers and stuff, and took care of all our transportation. They're still supporters of us. I was talking to him about Grand Nationals. He said, well, what's Grand Nationals? And I explained to him. He said, well, have you ever gone? I said, no, never been there. It's kind of expensive to go there. He says, you're going to go. And this was like 3 weeks away.
No way.
And he got me the flights and everything and took care of all the expenses. I went to Grand Nationals and saw that, and my mind was blown. I mean, I thought at that time we were doing pretty good in Utah. We weren't first all time, but we were doing okay. And I'd gone to Summer Symposium and saw what was happening. But when I saw that, I said, oh my gosh, we got to play this arena. And not so much that I don't even care if we make finals or even prelims, semifinals.
Yeah.
But I want my students to see that, and I want my parents to see what it is we're trying to achieve. So between that visit there and the next year, '95, we put together and voted and did everything we needed to do to raise the money and raise the student fees and went to Grand Nationals. That was I was still writing drill for the band. And I'll never forget, I used to take all summer writing drill. I mean, it was a time-consuming thing. Because when you come up with one set and you look at your music and you got a big hit, you got like 6 different options you can do, and you got to pick one. Yeah. And then that one chooses where you're going to go with the next. Anyway, it was horrible timing. And I remember that year, I wrote the drill in probably a week and a half. I mean, I told my wife, I said, I don't know what's going on here, because it's just flowing, and it's flowing. That was the year we had 7 trumpets in the all-state band. My oldest son, Dusty, was one of them. And we just had a great musical group of kids. And the whole feature. I remember going to Chicago the year before and talking to Francis Macbeth and saying, we're going to Grand National. What would be a good piece that you've written that would be good? He said, Through Countless Halls of Air, he says. I just wrote that. And he gave me the score. So I remember going flying home and listening to Through Countless Halls of Air on the flight. I said, this is it. So we got us an arranger, had it arranged, and went back and put it all together. And we were just thinking, because that time there was prelims, semis, and final. Yeah. And I told everybody, I said, if we can make semis, I'll be ecstatic, because we're just a little out here in Utah. Yeah. And we made semis. I was like, wow, we just felt success. And the kids were scared to death of prelims and the semis. They felt a little better. But then we're sitting in the stands, and I had not even a brain cell thinking we was going to make finals. We didn't have, I was just thinking we're going to go there and everybody's going to go off and eat the dinner, and then we'll come back and watch finals. Yeah. And little did I know it, Dr. Tim Lotzenheiser was the announcer. He pulled a real mean trick on us. He waited to the very last band. And he said, the last band tonight, performing finals, and they're in no particular order. Yeah. And there was a big pause, and we're sitting there, I said, no, it's not us. From American Fork, Utah. I've never seen kids' eyes with tears jettisoning out. It was just like, their eyes were big as, what? Did we just make finals? And they're screaming and yelling, and it's like, oh my gosh. Western States was going on that night. It was a Friday night or something when they did that, or something. It was Saturday. Somehow they got the word of it, and they announced it at Western States. That American Fork, first band to go to Grand Nationals in a gazillion years ever. Yeah. Had made finals the first year with me writing drill, and a few staff. We'd already gone through 2 percussion teachers that year. It was just such a shock. And I remember looking at my booster president and said, how are we going to feed these kids? We got about 3 hours, because the draw was we was going to be one of the first ones on. Oh, wow. And we had no idea. So they hurried up and ordered pizza. It was storming like crazy. We ate pizza on the bus. Wow. And then went on and did finals. And
I bet those kids were more than happy to eat pizza on the bus.
They were happy. I don't think anybody even tasted the pizza. They were so happy.
American Fork's going to Grand Nationals again this year. And there's a lot of expectation on because of how well they did last year. But as somebody who exceeded expectations on your first try and then didn't didn't match those results again, I mean, they might not ever get that high up again, ever. What's your point of view as someone who made it in your first year, your first try, and then went back several other times and didn't quite make it?
Yeah. It was disappointing when we went back because we had actually better shows, but the bands were getting better. When I go back and look at those 95 years of Grand National bands, there were some great bands there, and we were one of them. But 5 or 6, 7, 10 years later, they're the best band there. Right now, the worst band is at that level.
Yeah.
I mean, the level has come up so much. It's incredible. So, and every time I went back after that first year, I come back with the thing, I hope we can make prelims. If we make finals, great. Or hope we can make semifinals. If we can make prelims, or if we can make finals, hallelujah, that'd be great. And we were always just outside the bubble. And I think over the years, American Folk started to get us a name build up. And then, when they finally made finals again, that was a wonderful thing. And I was there, and I couldn't be happier, almost as happy as I was the first year, but not quite. But,
and you were there in a totally different role that time.
Totally different role.
What was your role there?
I was just a grandpa.
You were grandpa.
It was amazing.
You probably felt a lot less stressed.
Oh yeah, there was no stress at all. It was just fun being there. But I think the name of American Folk now, people know it, and I think it's helped. It's been interesting to bring in judges that have seen American Folk over the years. They've seen the other great bands. They now know that there's 3 or 4 bands in this valley, in this state, that are at a very high level. And I think that the reputation of American Folk has grown. I think that helped them. Going forward, you never know. It depends. The people always say you got to play the Texas year, because there's some years where the Texas bands all go.
Right.
That's a whole different level of a beast. And if they're all there, American Folk doesn't have as strong a chance as if they go a year when not a Texas year. I used to follow that. Where was the Texas year? I don't care anymore. But it's just and I'm sure that Warren's looking at all that. But
Sure.
But even that, it doesn't even matter. You just have to do the very best show that you can do. And if those 6 judges happen to like it, great. And if they happen to put down the points the correct way, judging around the country now, it's a tough thing to rank judges. It's to rank bands, for the judges to rank bands. It's just a very difficult thing. And that's why they have 6 judges. And then they, average them all out, and that's who's going to do it. So I think there's a couple of things. You got to have the highest quality program you can, musically and visually. I think they've got all that. There's 3 or 4 bands in Utah now that's got all that. And then I think name recognition, as wrong as that is, it still plays a part in the game. If they know, well, okay, American Folk, they made finals for that year, they've
got a history.
They might can make it again. They go with a little positive attitude. But it doesn't matter if they have a mediocre show, they ain't gonna cut it, because they're looking from bands all across the United States that are working very hard. And people think American Folk has all the money in the world. That's a big myth. They're a tenth of what some of these bands back there have.
Oh yeah.
Some of these bands back there, their props, the cost of their props are more than the entire budget of American Folk. It's just unbelievable what to compete against. So I hope they'll go back and do it again. If they don't, it's still a wonderful experience for the parents or for the kids.
Okay, like I said, your American Folk career could be a 4 or 5 hour episode, easy. And maybe we'll do that someday. But the last thing I want to focus on with your career at American Folk was your retirement and the transition that happened when Nate Siemens took over your position. I was talking with McKay last week, and I'll be talking with Josh Hurst later this week about their transition at Maple Mountain when Josh left for Cedar Valley. And we compared it to you leaving American Folk and Nate Siemens taking the job. And I think that type of situation, no matter who it is, no matter how long the director's been there, you're going to have some heartbreak. You're going to have some people that don't want to be there anymore because they're so used to the original director. Can you talk about what that was like, that transition, and just how everything went?
Transition after 30 years at American Folk High School, I'm loving every minute of it. People would always ask me, when are you going to retire, John? When are you going to retire? Well, when I feel like it. So far, I'm still having fun, having a good time.
Yeah.
And about the last year at American Fork High School, I was thinking, okay, I've got 30 years. Financially, I can do this. Have I done everything I wanted to do? Yeah, I think so.
That list that you made.
That list, oh, it was funny, that list we made, we discovered it when I was preparing for my retirement.
Really?
And we had achieved every single thing on that list.
Wow.
Except for going to Midwest and performing at Midwest. But early on in my career, I decided I don't need to perform Midwest. I don't need that kind of pressure. I don't need to have to do a concert band in front of, 2,000 band directors that all think their band's better than mine. But I remember
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing to look at that list. In fact, I went over that with Allison one time, and I said, "Look at this. We've got all this." I mean, the percentage of kids taking private lessons, the staff, everything. It was just the equipment. It was just blew my mind. But when I finally decided, everybody kept telling me, "You'll know when it's time."
Yeah.
Well, I knew it was time. I remember at Red Rocks, the last year of my career, I remember walking around the track, leading the band off the field, and just feeling at peace. Like, okay, I can go. Because I have people in line that I think will follow me. And nationally, you look at bands all around the country, some of the very top ones, when their director leaves, the band tanks. And I think that's a lot of times because it's a director-driven program. And I had always taken pride in myself that, no, this is parent and student-led, students particularly. And I remember telling the kids that, I'm going to retire this year and we're going to have a great audition process and you're going to have a part of this audition. The interview process, everything. And I knew that Nate was there. Bix came in from California, or Reno, I think he was at, and he interviewed a few people from Colorado, somebody from back east came in. I remember talking to the principal and saying, no, I want to do it this way. We really need to have the band, the candidates conduct the band, have them field questions from the band, and then bring them into a room with a little panel. Administrators, as many as you want, I don't care. But I want my booster president there, and I want a couple of other staff members in there who know what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And we did that. And there was, I think we ended up with 6 candidates. And Nate was by far ahead of everybody. And I knew that's who I wanted. I just knew it in my heart. He'd been my staff. I always used to brag about Nate. I say, because we're having a problem with the drill. Nate sees it as fixing it before I even can tell him to fix it. And he has got it going. And so, he came in and everything. And afterwards, we went around the room. And it was unanimous. Nate should have this. And good, that's good. So I felt at peace. It's going to be Nate's program. And then when it was all said and done, and he became the director and everything, and it was interesting because I'd really tried to prep the kids, because when Don Peterson left the first time and had another person come in, he didn't prep the kids, and the program almost died. And then he learned from that. And then when he left to go to BYU and he's bringing me in, he prepped the kids. The kids were wonderful with me. They had signs around the room saying it's Miller time. It was really good. So I think I'd prepped the kids really good, but I'll never forget one night. It was when they were doing rehearsals, 9 o'clock at night, maybe 10 o'clock, knock comes on my door. My 3 drum majors, the new drum majors, were there, 2 of which had been my drum majors the year before. Can we talk to you, Mr. Miller? Sure, come on up. And we sat here, talked for about an hour, and they started complaining about different things. And I said, okay, I'll stop right there. You have a new director. You've been wonderful with me. You need to be wonderful with him. He's going to do things different. I want him to do different. He's not me. He's Nate Siemens. And everything he's going to tell you, he's got more marching experience than I do. Heaven's sakes, he marched Blue Devils. Listen to what he's saying. And I told him, I said, now, when you leave, you just need to know I'm going to be on the phone with Mr. Siemens to tell him that you were here. So I suggest that you go right over to Mr. Siemens right now and talk this through. And they did. They went right over to Nate, and I called Nate and told him what went on. Everything was fine. A couple of days later, I talked to him, but it was fun to go over and even just kind of just hang on the field and be a field tech for a change with Nate. It was great. He didn't feel threatened, and I didn't feel like I was doing anything weird. But it was a great thing when Nate took over, and after that it was not ever an issue.
Yeah.
And then when Nate broke my heart and told me that he wasn't gonna, he was taking the Snow Collies gig.
Yeah.
I don't think it was 3 seconds that I'd hung up with Nate. I was on the phone to Orrin,
Yeah.
because Orrin was on my staff. Orrin had just taken the Cedar Valley job, ordered uniforms, got shows ready to go, everything. He's ready to go.
Wow.
Comes from, I think it was teaching Twiller or Grantsville or someplace. And I said, you need to apply for this job. Just tell your principal that you want American Fork. So it was good. And it's been wonderful there too. It's been really good. You can have different directors, but if you've got a strong student base that realize that, hey, this guy's just some guy who stands up on a podium and talks and stuff, you're going to be fine. And, I always were in fear that Orrin will leave, because then I don't have my list anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, just if any director out there who's leaving, I look at to Mitch at Cedar Valley, and Josh coming in. I think that was a good transition, and I think Mitch prepared him well, and I think Josh was accepted well. I think when Josh left Maple Mountain and McKay went in, I think there was good transitions. That's not always the case. Yeah. I could tell you stories around the state of some directors who left and then badmouth the new director coming in, and it's just the program dies. So I think it's you just got to have what's in the best interest of the kid. Yeah. If some poor little kid's a sophomore who don't know anything about the history of the program comes in and, well, what's going on? I thought this was a great program, and then it dies. Yeah. So it just doesn't my heart good to see the program still flourishing.
Yeah.
And it's still going up. I think it'll get better every year.
So you retired from American Fork in 2016. It's been 10 years now since then. It probably flies like crazy.
Flies, yeah.
What have you been doing in the last 10 years?
I've been happily enjoying retirement for the last 10 years.
You've been sitting on the couch the whole time.
Just sitting on the couch, I wish, no. It was so great, because when I retired, during that process, they called me to be the director of the Nauvoo Brass Band.
That's right.
So that first summer,
I forgot about
my wife and I took off to Nauvoo and spent the whole summer and the next 3 summers, and then the rest of the time running a Nauvoo Brass Band. And that was so fun. Made some connections with some great people. And got just a wonderful experience. It was incredible. Yeah. I was still running the Wasatch Winds Symphonic Band that I created a long time ago.
Yeah, when did that start? It's been 20 years now, right?
2006, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary, and that's just going great. It's just going wonderful. We rehearse twice a month, got some great people playing in it, do 4 or 5 concerts a year, play some wonderful music, and it's getting better and better and better. We're making an application to play at the ACB, which is the American Concert Band Association of community bands. It'll be in Denver next May, I think. We're hoping to get into that.
Cool.
And 5 years after starting that, I guess when I retired, they kept bugging me, wanting to start a jazz band. So I said, okay, once I retired, then I started the Wasatch Show Band. And that has been a ball. We've got amazing players in it. We practice twice a month, and 4 lead singers out front, and they're just singing up a storm. And we play all over the place. We'll play for like 4 or 5 concerts, and then 3 or 4 in the summer. And we do a Halloween dance, which is amazing, and then a full-blown Valentine's dance with dinner, and all of them are sold out. It's just been a wonderful thing. We're playing for the AF Drone Show. 2 hours with 8,000 people will be there, so it'll be a fun thing. So I've had that going. BYU offered me the position to be an adjunct professor to teach 2 music ed classes. I've done that now for almost 10 years. It's been incredible. Utah Valley University, I teach a marching band class there every other year. That's the only time they can offer it. And so this coming up here, I'll be teaching that class again. And that's been a ball. These young teachers, and being able to just impart a little bit of knowledge that I have, and try to help them become successful teachers. And so that's kept me pretty busy. I mean, musically wise, which I think is great. And then UMEA keeps me going with, I'm still a treasurer for them, and then this marching band chair and committee chair, that kind of stuff. So retirement's a myth, but you got to keep going. You got to keep doing stuff, or I think you just rot. I see people that just die and stuff. I think I don't want
They
to do
just
that.
die. Yeah.
No.
Well, I remember interviewing you. This was back in 2013, one of my first interviews ever with you. And you talked about that in life, you always need to be crescendoing.
Right.
Life needs to be crescendo.
Right.
And do you still believe that now,
I
even after
firmly
retirement?
believe that. I mean, in music's every bit of music's got to go someplace or go away. I'm not ready to go away yet. I'm still hopefully going to be crescendoing until for the last millisecond. But I think, that's my recommendation when people retire. I look at Paul Lehman, who just retired. Amazing guy. He's my assistant director now for my Wasatch Winds. He's just busy, clinics and stuff. And that's what people need to do when they retire. They need to keep their hands in music if they can, but get involved in hobbies or, anything. I mean, I still go hiking and razor riding and, fishing. I was just caught a dozen fish with my grandsons and, just this week. Yeah. But it's, you got to keep doing things. But if you can keep music in there, that's even better.
How has it been? Because with Wasatch Winds, a lot of those players are maybe not former students of yours, but definitely former band students who have kept their instruments, primed and kept their talents. And that's something that you see a lot is when people leave high school or college, they sell their instrument and never touch it again. And, what do you think about all that?
That was part of my master's project. Didn't do a thesis, did a master's project, was the organization creation of a community band to help create longevity in musicians. Because 90%, maybe even more, of high school kids, when they graduate, that instrument gets sold or it's under the bed someplace or goes back to grandma and grandpa or something. You never see it again. But there's so many good community ensembles now in Utah. I did a little research here a couple of years ago, and I think I ended up counting like 15 to 20 bands in Utah that are functioning and giving people an opportunity to play. Our Wasatch Winds, the other day I counted, we have 9 band directors playing with it.
Like current band directors?
Current band directors. I'd like to get more, but they're so busy, or they think they're so busy. But anyway, we got Chris Ramos from Utah Valley University playing with us. He's their director. And so we've had some great, great people that are working with us and playing. And it's just a wonderful thing to keep it going.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier on that you had 2 choices for a career. First one was a music educator, and the second one was a
Forest Ranger.
Forest ranger. I know you're a great outdoorsman. Talk a little bit about that.
I've just always loved the outdoors. I still go backpacking. We're going backpacking next week. I've got 2 daughters this time going and 2 grandsons going with us.
Nice.
And sometimes it's pretty heavy, 5-6 miles in and stuff. And I'm getting a little elderly now. I think it's a little tougher, but I still love just to be in outdoors. Pam and I have hiked all over the sawtooths together up in Idaho, and we've done lots of that kind of stuff. And now that we're getting older, we've kind of converted to the Polaris Ranger kind of a thing, and side by side, and we can go as far as we can go and still do a little hike up a hill or something. Yeah. But I just love being outside. We've got the RV trailer, and we go camping 3 or 4 times a year at least, and just the solitude. And I used to love it when I was teaching band. I mean, when fall break would come, oh my gosh, I loved it, because I'd go up someplace in the mountains and there was no band sounds going on, no drum lines warming up, and I'm just hearing the babbling of a brook or something. It just cleanses the soul.
It's nature's music.
Nature's music. And Pam and I now, we do cruises. We love cruising now, and we're doing a cruise in October with a whole bunch of band directors from Utah. We're going to Rome and to Greece and Croatia and some of those places. It'll be fun. I think that's 20 or 30 band directors are going.
Wow. So
it'll be kind of a fun. So yeah, the outdoors has always been an amazing thing to me. This kind of soothes the soul.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's talk about UMEA. How long have you been involved with UMEA?
I think I've been involved in UMEA since I actually started here at American Fork High School. I was a member, and eventually they got me into being on some committees. And then I became the band VP, and I ran the all-state bands for 10 years, helped organize those, get the directors in, and that was an amazing experience. And then they asked me if I'd be the treasurer. I don't know why they had me do that, but it worked out good. In Idaho, I remember I was the treasurer for the Idaho Music Union for some reason.
Interesting.
But
They just look at you and they see treasure.
I guess, I don't know, they don't see money, but but I've done that now for, almost 20 years, probably more than that now. But that's been a wonderful thing because I can kind of keep my hands in things to help people, and it's more organizational, sending contracts out, getting contracts filled. And then when my friend Steve Schertz was president or band VP, we were looking at, I was in the marching band world then, and it was so disorganized in Utah. I mean, we'd go to Davis Cup and have a whole separate set of rules, whole different procedure. Bridgeland up in Logan would have a whole different thing. Every show would be run differently. Nebo would be run differently.
And when you say run differently, can you go into any details about
some
that?
of them would have 6 judges, some would have 4 judges, some would be just Utah judges. They'd have different judging sheets, totally different sheets. It wasn't a standard lineup time, time flow, because band directors, we live by that time flow. When you get off the bus, okay, you're doing this, now you're doing this, now you're doing this.
And it would be
It
different.
was all different. So you'd have to study the rules and stuff beforehand, and
Yeah.
it was crazy. I mean, at the time, the reason Nebo was even begun was Davis Cup at the time was run by the Weber State. And they had these silly rules where if a color guard's arm even broke the plane of the sideline, it was a penalty. And this was a penalty, and that was a penalty.
So they had like side judges, like
oh yeah,
watching
it was crazy.
Wow.
And every band got so many penalties. And so the guy at Nebo, can't remember his name now, but he created that. And whenever the Davis set their dates, he would set Nebo on the same date.
Okay.
So that the bands could come there. And then Davis now is totally different. It's great now.
Yeah.
But I approached this Steve Schertz. He was a good friend of mine, band director.
When was this about? Was this when you were still teaching?
Yes. It was probably, I retired in 16. It was around 2000 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
A good while ago.
Yeah. And I said, we have all these committees. We have an all-state committee, a festival committee, we have choir committees, we have orchestra committees. I said, can you create a marching band committee and just put me as the chair for the first year? Sure. He doesn't do marching band. I've tried my whole career to get him in marching, but he doesn't do it. So we created this marching band committee. And I got the guy from Davis, I got the guy from, all around Mountain Crest, and we met, and we got some band parents and dads involved, and then we took the Bands America rules, and we took the Western States rules out of California, and we combined them and developed some sheets that we liked better. And we came up, a lot of stuff we stole right out of BOA, and they were fine with that. I told them, you okay if we do? Yeah, okay. So we changed the wording a little bit, but we standardized. Okay, this is how long the show starts. This is when the announcement starts. This is when the show ends. This is everything. And then we standardized the sheets, and we said we can't have any in-state judges because college guys don't want to judge in-state bands because they'll make somebody mad. They won't send their kids to their school.
Gotcha.
And so we did all that kind of stuff. And put it all together, sold it to the directors, and called it the UMEA Marching Band Circuit. And every show came under the umbrella of that. We convinced UMEA then to treat us just like every other all-state event or a festival. Yeah. It's all sponsored by UMEA. It might be run by American Fork High School, might be run by Davis.
Each individual competition is run by the host school?
By the whole school.
Okay.
But they all are under the criteria of the marching band policy. And anybody can go out into their umea.us and look on their marching band, and you can download the marching band policy handbook. And it's been evolved over the years, but it's a pretty intense thing. Yeah. It's a really intense thing. It tells you exactly how to do this and how much every show is going to cost, how much tickets are going to cost. And then somehow in the middle of all that, like it might have been, I don't remember. Somehow I wasn't going to do the marching band chair anymore, but said, would you be the marching band coordinator? In other words, you're going to hire all the judges, and you're going to be at every show in the judges box, helping the judges, giving the instructions. Because it used to be, when I was teaching American Fork, I'd bring all these judges in, we'd have our competition. Well, I'd have to go and talk to the judges and tell them all the rules. and talk to them about everything. Well, that's a little bit shady to me when the director and your own
the
band,
host school.
your own band is performing later on the night. Silly things like that were going on. And so we got rid of all that and got it all under the umbrella of the Utah Music Educators Association and correlated with the Utah High School Activities Association. So we're all in cahoots, we're all legal and everything like that. And then to UMEA, we cover all the insurance issues. Because I write a check every year for $1,000 to some insurance company to cover all of our events, and that covers that too.
Okay.
So we kind of organized all that.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I don't even remember what year, we'd say, well, we need to really have a full, active, functioning committee. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, the bands are associated by classifications, 4A, 5A, 6A, all by band size, combined with school size. We've changed all that over the years, how it works. And it still changes every year. But then we say, okay, we need to have 2 representatives from 3A, 2 from 4A, 5A, 6A, so to be on our committee. And they're voted on by the directors. And then we meet. And as a chair, we have that meeting. And then what's really amazing about this is it's so fluid and it can be changed. If some director someplace thinks, well, this is a stupid thing, I'm going to write a proposal to change the rules. So they write a proposal, they submit it. We have timelines when these things have to be submitted. And every year we get 7 or 8, sometimes more, sometimes less, of proposals, different things. And we take it to the committee looks at it, votes on it and everything. And then if they vote approval of it, it goes to the vote of the entire marching band membership.
Okay.
So if there's something out there, they can change anything, and then we vote on it, and then then I have to take it to the UMEA board to make sure they're okay with this.
Yeah.
And then, but they always are. And then it's changed, and it's in the policy book, and it's an incredible thing. But being at every show, it gives a little bit of stability. Because every judge, these 6 judges come in. It's me who now aren't associated with any band. I give them what's called the Utah speech. It tells them exactly how to rank them and how to do this. I have Jason Petrovich, who taught up in Mountain Crest for a while, and I was teaching junior high choir someplace up there. He's the tabulator, so we all do competition suite, and the judges will all be talking, and then they'll come to my computer, and I get to sample to make sure they're all doing okay.
Yeah.
And take all the scores and everything. So it's all unified now. Yeah. It's all unified. The only one that's not is BYU. They're still doing their own thing, and we try to get them on board with us, but it's not working yet. But the rest of the shows, and there's always, right now we have enough bands now where it's approaching the area where we can have 2 shows on the same day.
Oh, wow.
And there was a proposal made this year, did not pass, to revamp everything. To get rid of a lot of the shows and just have directors bid to get a show. But that's hasn't passed. But we're looking at different kind of things.
That's kind of the direction that it's heading.
We're looking at the direction I'm hoping it's heading is to have 2 shows on a Saturday. That's tough because you look at Davis or you look at AF, you're cutting their shows in half. Somebody else, and that's okay because the show hosts make a lot of money off these shows. They make plenty, and if they even made half, that would still be a great fundraiser for a full day's, of course, weeks ahead preparing. But that's where I think the direction is going. The directors are starting to say we need to have maybe 2 shows on a day.
And that's just, correct me if I'm wrong, that's so that it gives multiple schools the opportunity to host a show and raise funds for
Correct. Yeah, a lot of shows, a lot of directors want to host a show. The problem is a lot of directors don't have an idea what it takes to run a show. Hundreds of parents, not just 10 or 15. But there are other shows in the state and now Utah that have some deficiencies that needs to change. But a lot of directors want to host a show.
Yeah. And there's only so many weekends.
There's only so many weekends.
In the fall.
And you take fall break out.
Yep.
That's one. And sometimes we'd take conference weekend out, but now we don't. Usually BBI is on conference weekend.
You're talking about general conference for the church.
Yes, general conference, yeah. But right now BBI is again on that one. We can consistently has been. But Red Rocks is so cool to run. That's our state championship.
Yeah.
Because we invite every single director in the state to get their parents involved on the Red Rocks committee.
Oh, cool.
And they have to, I mean, they have hundreds of parents that need the help. And what we do is we take that all the money that we generate after we pay the judges, their hotels, their flights.
Yeah.
We have this amount of money that and the rental for the facility is unbelievable. We have this little pile of money. We divide it up by the hours that each parent did. And then we give that back to the school.
Oh, cool.
And that's an amazing thing. And some schools now who didn't used to have anybody helping now have tons of people helping.
Yeah.
And I sent them a check for $7,000 or something.
Great incentive.
It's an incredible fundraiser for 1 year for just a few parents to do it. But a lot of the band directors who want to host a show don't have a single parent helping at Red Rocks. And that tells me something. They don't know how to run a show. And so that's part of the process. We're saying, you know, if you want to run a show, you got to have a sizable percentage of people learn how to run a show. You got to even shadow another show for another year before you can do it. We're just trying to make it so that a show doesn't fall on its face the first year.
Yeah.
Because it could easily.
Well, like with anything, you know, it's an educational opportunity.
It is.
You have to start from somewhere, you know. So I guess you know, this is a great opportunity for those programs to learn how it's done, and you know, eventually, you know, 5-10 years from now, you have just an amazing set of shows and a lot more of them.
A lot more of them.
The thing that comes to my mind is you're going to have bands that don't go to every show. Obviously, you know, if they're having, you know, two on the same day, you know, the pros are obviously the programs. More programs get to host a show. Are there any cons that you're also facing with that?
One of the problems that we're having to figure out is the decision the directors have to make. If you have two shows on one day, you got to fill the stand somehow. And the 6A and 5A are the big stand fillers, so that more kids are in those bands. Well, you put grades, classification 6 and 3 and 2 and 1 or something, and 4 and something and another. But some directors are saying, no, we just need to have them all. But what'll happen is directors will find out where American Fork is, and they will go to another show because they'll have a chance to win that one. Or they'll find out who, you know, where Davis is at, or Sky Ridge, or Westlake, or, you know, Cedar Valley.
It's just, you know, strategy.
Yeah, it's strategy, and I'd like to take that out of the equation. Just if you're a 6A band, you're going here, and this is who you're competing. I mean, I would never, as a director of American Fork, I would have never wanted to go to some place where I knew I could win. That's why we went to Grand Nationals and regionals and things, because we didn't. We knew we weren't going to win.
With Grand Nationals, you know, a lot of times they'll pick years to go when the Texas bands aren't there, and that's kind of the same thing if you think about it. And I may be wrong, and correct me if I am, but you know, how do you foresee that issue resolving itself?
See, first of all, a director's got to make a proposal. It's how they make that proposal and how they present it. And then the directors are the ones that make a decision. It's not me. I shouldn't be making that decision.
Making a decision about
who's going to go to what show, or, you know, if you're going to split divisions or whatever. Those kind of decisions. That's why I'm so happy about how we're organized. It's the directors make a decision. It's not a handful of the administrators or something. It's the directors have to make that decision. And I think that's important, that if they can do that. I just think that's crucial. So it's back in the hands of the directors to make the call.
When and you mentioned that the 6A bands and the 5A bands, they fill the seats because there's more kids, there's more family members and friends, obviously. We have very small schools as well and programs. Now, you talked about with UMEA, you have representatives from each of the classifications on the board. What can be done, or what is being done to help kind of level that playing field with those smaller marching band programs?
You know, UMEA, I'm so proud of the direction they're moving, because we're trying to, inclusive is the word lately. We're trying to make sure that everybody feels successful, and they're really good. In every division, we have classifications. So say you're in the 4A division. Well, then we divide it by band size. So the smaller band sizes are competing against each other in the 4A Scholastic. And then if you're in the bigger bands, it's the 4A Open. So that gives you two trophies, two sets of trophies. So a smaller band can still do really, really well. That's helping a lot. We're also, our conferences in St. George, well, even in the Mountain West thing here, we're trying to train directors. Small bands, small schools can have great bands.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone back to Grand Nass before and seen small bands that make finals.
Wow.
They're just amazing. They're clean and precise. So bands that they should never use, we don't have as much money, or we don't have, it really depends on what the director wants to have happen. He can make it happen if they want to. You can take small and make it big, but it takes some time.
Yeah.
And it takes the philosophy of that director to make sure that they can make that happen. So I think we're trying to make sure that even by that classification of scholastic and open, that helps more bands feel success.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that came out of the director's proposals years ago, and it became, and the directors liked it, and that's what they went with. And I think that kind of helps.
Yeah.
A little Tintic up there. 2 years ago, they started marching, and first time ever. But it was they were in the game.
Yeah.
And I think and they got a new director this year, so we're anxious to see how that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And but we encourage these new ones. When you look at sports, because we kind of align ourselves with the Utah High School Activity Association.
Yeah.
There is a state 6A championship. There's not two state 6A championships.
Right.
And that's we're trying our best to make sure that we are in alignment with the High School Activities Association. Sports are sports, but arts are arts, and we have to do things different, and we do things different. And the Utah High School Activities Association has been so nice to UMEA. They say, whatever you music teachers decide, we will support. And so they do. And similar, whenever our marching band committee comes up with some, new rule or something, the UMEA board says, if it's in the best interest of the kid, that's what we want to do. I think over the last 10 years, we've added about 3 or 4 bands, which is good. We've lost maybe a couple.
Okay.
I take that back because one just came back in. But it depends on the director. Everything depends on the director. That's what I love about teaching the marching band class at UVU, is just talking to these directors and saying, hey, it's in your hands. You can go to a school that doesn't have a marching band started.
Yeah.
I remember Dave Fulmer, when he was at Pleasant Grove High School, went to Timpview, they didn't have a marching band program.
Oh, wow.
And I remember him talking to me and talking to different people, and people thought he was crazy starting a marching band at Timpview. He did it.
Yeah.
He became one of the top ones. He was winning everything in their division. So you can take any program and get a director who wants to make it happen.
Yes.
They can make it happen. Now, principal might look at it differently and say, well, this costs a lot of money. We got to buy sousaphones. We got to buy this. We got to buy uniforms.
Yeah.
That the benefit is far outweighs the, So anyway, that's how I think UMEA is trying to help as much as we possibly can to get equity among everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have specific marching band meetings
We do.
with directors?
Yeah, they've got me. Mitch is the band VP. And Oren did too. He had me on what they call the UMEA marching band, UMEA band committee, which is basically all states and festivals.
Yeah.
But
when you say Mitch, you're talking about Mitch Hall.
Mitch Hall. Sorry,
Okay.
Mitch Hall and Oren Landis. And again, my position as the marching band chair, I serve under their direction and their wishes. They keep me, or they can just put me down the road.
Yeah.
And but they've also been nice enough to have me on the band committee as kind of the voice for marching band. And how did the Oren used to put it? You're the sage guy who knows a long history of things.
Yes. Yes.
And that's been nice.
Yeah.
We're meeting this Thursday at Summer Haze in Orem in some recital hall with the band committee. But then the marching band committee is a whole separate thing. And we meet 3-4 times a year.
Okay.
We'll have a meeting before the season starts to go over everything. And we talk about any concerns everybody has. By then, everybody will have made their applications and decided what shows they're going to be in. We'll confirm that with them all. We'll review all the new policies. If you go on the website and look at the policy manual, the first page, I think, has got all the new policies.
Okay. So
everybody
to it.
can look at it and say, oh yeah, this has changed from last year. So there should be no excuse from not, but we'll review all that kind of stuff. And then we just ask for any concerns. Oh yeah, so Tintic's got a new director. How can we help him? What can we do to help them? And then somebody who lives close by will just drive up and, do a clinic with them or help them or something. Everybody trying to help each other. It's just a healthy thing. I don't see that in football teams. But it's really healthy in music that we all are willing to help each other and stuff. So then we have those marching band meetings, and the dates are all in that policy book when they are, and then twice a year we have a full marching band directors meeting.
Okay.
We have one down in St. George when we have the UMEA convention in February. Every marching band, it's the end of the Utah Bandmasters thing.
Okay.
And we start that, and we have a meeting where that's the first time the proposals are brought up to the whole congregation.
The congregation.
The whole band members. Committee. And then we'll have another one a little bit later on before school gets out. Then we'll have another one before school starts. It'll be, I can't remember, I think it's in August or September.
Okay.
We'll have another one. And then when the season is over, we have another one.
Okay.
And that's when we're reminding people that, how'd it go, any feedback, any complaints about all the judges or anything. And then here's when you have your policy changes, get them going. And it's kind of neat because at the end of every show, we have a form where the director can get on and make comments on everything. Fred Jones, the judge, I didn't like him how he said this, or this was stupid, or this, and they kind of rate each judge.
Okay.
And if I get, as the marching band coordinator who hires these guys, if I get 3 or 4 really negative things, I'll go back and listen to that tape first of all. And then if I agree with them, I'll just take them off my list. We won't have them judge anymore. But that rarely happens, because and it's usually the people who are complaining, other people who aren't winning, and they're saying, well, if the judges would just seen what I see,
right, yeah.
or heard what I'm hearing, we don't want
well,
everything.
it's like blaming the ref if your team loses a game.
Right.
It's kind of that same
That's
concept.
exactly the same thing.
I think everyone's prone to do that. That's a natural human thing. But
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're very intent on creating a system where there's constant feedback and communication.
Yes.
And is that something that was also kind of missing from the formula back
It
when you started?
didn't exist at all.
Yeah.
Every show was its own autonomous thing, and there was no feedback or nothing. You just went to a show.
Yeah. How has the communication between all of the band directors in the state, how has that changed over the years? How did it used to be, and how has it changed?
When I first came to American Fork, there was no communication unless you had a friend or knew somebody and you talked. There was no organization of talking to all directors, concert band or anything. Marching band, I think, has taken it up a step, even above concert band festivals in all states.
Yeah.
I mean, the band committee, we don't have a meeting with all the band directors. Just doesn't happen.
Right.
But marching band, we do 2 or 3 times, and we talk about a lot of stuff because it is, it's a whole different level of stuff, than a marching band versus a concert band.
Yeah, it's more of a sport. It gets more into the sport
Right,
side
yeah.
than the arts, but
And it's more competitive, and there's stupid rules and things that they have to live by.
yeah.
So I think compared to the old days was a nightmare. I mean, we just would go to a show,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Yeah.
I'll never forget my first year at American Fork concert band. I was getting inundated by these festival invitations. Utah State Festival, UIU Festival, UV, whatever it used to be called.
Yeah. UVSC.
Yeah. And, Utah State, the Weber State. And I remember calling up Dawn one time and said, Dawn, we're going to a festival almost every weekend. I got this thing from the Deseret News Band Festival. Is this something I need to go to? He said, no, not really. I said, okay. So I just put it in the garbage. Monday morning, my principal calls me down. John, the Deseret News State Band Festival, you weren't there. My kids were in the Orem Band, and right after the Orem Band was a spot for American Fork because you'd made the state festival. I didn't know. Nobody had told me that was a state band festival, that I had qualified at region to go to the state.
So there was just no communication.
There was no communication. And then even, I've chewed out Dawn a couple times and said, John, why did you tell me that was a state competition? I'd have been,
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, there used to be no communication at all unless you had friends or something, or you went to the same school.
Right.
But now I think we have a good thing going. At St. George, we get together and we have food. And we started the Utah Bandmasters to kind of help that and get the band directors together. to talk about just band stuff, because UMEA is as good as it is, as much as I love it, it's everything. It's elementary music, it's collegiate music, it's choir, it's band, it's orchestra. Where we started the bandmasters, we're just dealing with band stuff. And we work hand in hand with UMEA, which is terrific.
Yeah. How has all this evolution of the communication improving among band directors, specifically marching band directors in Utah, how do you think that has improved the spirit of competition, but also the camaraderie that currently exists with among all the marching band directors?
I think there's a very unified spirit among the marching band directors. I think, particularly when we get together in person at St. George, there's great communication going on. There's some debate and some discord at times, but it's always in a friendly manner, and it's resolved. If not else, it's just resolved by a vote. If people vote on a proposal or something. But I think it's just so much better than it used to be. I mean, we talk when we have the full directors meeting. Sometimes they're all on Zoom nowadays, thanks to COVID. It's all Zoom. And we're sitting there, and somebody will say, well, Fred, about this, or what about this, or what about this? And some great conversations going on. And I rarely, if ever, hear, really negative or anybody slamming another band or something. There's jokes that probably have some feeling behind them. But I mean, it's just such an open communication with directors. And directors should feel free to just reach out. And it's the new directors, which I'm really excited about. These new guys, I get my BYU kids or something will get a gig, and I'm reaching out to them. Other directors are reaching out to them. They're reaching out to their cohorts and the people in their district, the people in their region. There's just a good positive interaction overall. I think it's really healthy, I think. In my humble opinion, the marching band world in Utah is the best it's ever been. But it's also got to the level where it's ready for some change. It's ready for some new policies, like we talked about the 2 competitions or whatever. But I think it is, I get this from other adjudicators' perspectives. They'll come in, judges, and they're just raving about the Utah bands. Some of these judges have judged us for 20 years. And they'll say, I can't believe how much better the bands in Utah are getting. And sometimes us folks who are right in the middle of it, we just don't see that growth as much. I have seen it, but somebody who sees it every couple of years it just does my heart good to say, yeah, they are getting better. Because I used to go to shows, and some of the smaller bands and stuff were embarrassing. But I don't think there was a single band that was embarrassing the last couple of years here. So I think the health of marching bands in Utah, and bands in general, I think are getting better and better and better. I think are getting better directors. I think you're getting better communication among directors.
And the current directors are getting better themselves.
Yes, they're getting other degrees, advanced degrees, and they're studying, and they're working hard to get better and better and better. And I just think it's a high level.
That's awesome.
But it's ready for change too. That's always good.
One thing that really stood out to me last year at St. George was how many bands were so amazing, so freaking good. Can you talk about how the parity between some of the top bands in the state is getting smaller and smaller? You're getting more and more bands competing for that top spot. Do you think that's a good thing, and why?
I think it's a great thing. I joke with Orrin and other people a lot of times. Say, I retired at the right time. At that time it was Davis and us. And Mary Ford. They were the ones that were battling. Well, now you've got American Fork, you got Sky Ridge, you got Cedar Valley, you got Davis, you got Green Canyon up there. To me, they're one of the most amazing bands in Utah. I probably missed somebody in there, but did I say Westlake?
Westlake.
And Maple Mountain, But there's some bands that are just coming on really, really strong, and it's up for grabs. I've joked with Warren a couple times. Because last year they got a little taste of it when they went to California and didn't win. And then they come to the BOH and didn't win. That was as a director of bands in Rick Forest, I used to love it when that happened. That humbled my kids, because all of a sudden they thought, oh, maybe we're not as good as we think. Maybe we need to work a little harder.
And maybe on the other side, the incentive, the drive to get better, because if you're winning all the time,
Complacency.
Why do you need, yeah, complacency. That's the
Complacency
word I was looking for.
complacency was my biggest problem.
Yeah, yeah.
It really was, trying to get that so it could be.
So losing a show.
It's a great thing.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a great thing.
yeah.
It's hard for a kid to wrap their head around that. And it's hard for directors to wrap their head around that when they're used to winning.
Yeah,
But that's why we used to always go to Grand Nationals,
yeah.
because we wanted our kids and our parents and our staff to say, oh yeah, we're not quite as high as we thought we were.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, John, this has been so amazing to talk to you. Last question I have for you is, what do you see in the future for marching bands in the state of Utah?
In the future for marching bands in the state of Utah, I mean, I'm a pretty optimistic guy. I see them getting bigger. I see them getting better. You're already seeing it. More bands are going to Grand Nationals now. Yeah. Had a couple last year, and you're going to have a couple more coming in this year.
We got Green Canyon, Westlake, and American Fork.
Yeah.
From Utah.
This year, coming up. Yeah. That's more than it's ever been. Yeah. And I see more of that, because I think more bands are seeing that, Utah's great, but but there's so much out there that they don't, their kids don't understand, their parents don't understand. So I see the future of that growing. I see the future of our competitions growing. As we get more bands, we have to have 2 shows on a Saturday. Maybe not every Saturday. And we're looking at maybe 1 or 2 shows this next couple of years to see how that works.
Yeah.
But I see that growing. And I hope I can see some of these young band directors that are coming down now. They're awesome. They're hungry. They want to do good. My big fear is a lot of them are, well, it's a lot of work, so I'm just now going to go to a junior high and coast. I hate it. I hate that when it happens, because it is a lot of work.
Yes.
But directors can do it, and they can still have a family. They can still have a spiritual life. They can still have everything they need and still develop a strong program. So I'm just very optimistic about things. I think UMEA is going to continue to support marching band like crazy. The NAFME, National Association for Music Education, that UMEA is a particle of. I think they're supporting marching band more and more. So I feel very positive about where we're going. Marching band is alive and well in Utah.
Beautiful. John, I can't thank you enough for all the time you've taken to sit down with me and talk. Just some amazing insight and things I think a lot of people will be really interested in listening to and learning more about your role, about UMEA in the marching band world. So thank you so much for your time. I've loved talking to you.
Thank you, Matt. You're awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for joining us on the Marching Arts Utah podcast. We'll see you in the next episode.